Thank you guys for tuning in today. My name is Deborah Owen and I'm a certified health coach, and my husband and I live on a farm in Northern California. For many years we raised lamb, sold lamb at the farmers markets and health food stores. I would say a good 10 years or so. And the name of our farm is Owen Family Farm. We've retired a little bit from that, even though we still raise livestock. And today it's Easter, but we're gonna have roasted leg of lamb. Normally what you'll see on the lamb is you will see part of the shank included. So you'll have the main leg and then there will be an extension of the roast. So sometimes when people see leg of lamb, they don't always see it with just the leg itself. So don't be confused if you see this and you wonder, well, that doesn't necessarily look like the leg of lamb that you're used to. A lot of times butcher shops will leave the shank on. So we had the shank cut off because we wanted that as a separate cut. And I went into the garden and I am creating my own seasoning. So we have some rosemary from the garden. I have some fresh oregano from the garden, and we also cut some mint. But what I want to do is, since these are fresh herbs, I'm afraid that they're going to burn because I'm going to sear the roast first. I always like to sear it, that way it really keeps in the juices before I put it in the oven. So what did I brine it with today? I brined it with sea salt, ground pepper. I use the rest of my gram masala, but I do have another bottle as well if I need to add more. But gram masala, a little bit of a pinch of the smoked paprika, and then the salt and pepper on top. You can, if you want, you can add a little bit of red pepper flakes to this as well. I've heard that that's really good. But I'm going to add some of these other, like the garlic and the fresh herbs, after I've already browned this, because I don't want to burn the fresh herbs or the garlic. So I'm going to go ahead. I have a cast iron skillet full of hot coconut oil. Sometimes you can flour this as well. If you do decide to flour it, you want to season your flour with what I just shared with you as far as the seasonings, with the salt, the pepper, any other spices that you choose. But these are what I chose today. But you can put that in your flour and then cover it with the meat with that, and then you can brown it as well. Either way works just fine. So I'm going to walk on over now to the stove and I'm going to brown the roast. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to be putting the herbs in a blender. I'm using my NutriBullet. You could use pretty much any little blender or food processor. And I'm stripping the oregano going against the way that it grows. So if the leaves are shooting outward, you hold the top of it and you just go against it. And they usually pretty much peel right off. And then you just clip the tip. Don't worry about it if you get some of the stem in there. It's not that big of a deal. I'm just pinching off the mint leaves now. I'm going to save some of the sprigs of rosemary because I'm going to put that on top of the potatoes, but I'm not at the potato part yet. I have a little bit of dried rosemary as well that's going to go in there. It's not going to make much difference. And then some more. I just kind of eyeball it. You can add however much you want depending on how strong you like it. And then I'm going to put a nice amount of garlic in here. So you can use fresh garlic. We used a canned garlic just because we had it in the refrigerator and it needs to be used. But this is sort of like a Greek style recipe, so we like to use a lot of garlic. And this is just going to go over the roast. And I can put a little bit of that juice in there. And then I'm going to add some olive oil to this. You can use avocado oil, olive oil, any kind of healthy fruit or seed oil. You could even put a little bit of sesame seed oil in there too. I think that would taste really delicious. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna blend this up. It's gonna kind of make a little bit of a paste. And we're gonna pour olive oil over the roast too when it's done browning. Let's see, I'm always trying to figure. So as you can see, it almost even looks like a creamy pesto sauce, which if you had basil in there, it would be. That's really nice. And next what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the potatoes and onions ready. Now the roast, the leg of lamb is all browned, and I'm gonna show that to you in just a minute. But you're gonna want to get a nice Pyrex dish. I think this is a 9x13, but you can use a Dutch oven, cast iron Dutch oven, anything that you want to, but keep in mind this is gonna be roasting. So, you want a nice size pan. We were using the Yukon Gold potatoes. And so I took 2 onions. I took sweet white onions, and then I took 3 large Yukon Gold potatoes. Now I cut them not super thin or thick, but just enough thickness, because as we're going to be cooking this in the oven, we don't want to slice them too thin as they'll cook too fast. So I'm going to set my oven now for 350. And I'm just going to get that preheated. And in the mixture I have here what I blended up with the herbs, so I'm going to set this aside. As you can see, the consistency, I put some fresh lemon juice in here as well. This is just going to be, a nice, but I'm going to pour this on over the roast after I have it over here. So what I'm going to do with this now is I'm going to take some more sprigs of the rosemary, and I'm just going to thread them off. Like I showed you earlier, you go against the way that the rosemary grows. So you just hold the tip and you kind of just grab it, and it comes right off. It's going to take the tip, just drop that in there. So we like a lot of fresh herbs in with our potatoes, because it just is going to, and besides the aromatics as the roast is cooking, all of this is going to go into the roast as well. So I'll just break off. I'm going to do the same with the oregano, fairly fast. And then I'm going to take some garlic. I'm just going to, as you see, heaping tablespoons there. And then I'm going to be putting some olive oil over the potatoes. Now the roast is still going to ooze a lot of the juice and natural stuff like that out of the roast. You're going to get a lot of flavor on the potatoes, and there's fat in a leg of lamb as well. So I don't want to add too much fat, and just enough though. And then I'm going to put my salt, because salty potatoes are delicious. Now, of course, if you're sensitive to salt, if you have high blood pressure or anything like that, keep in mind just use sparingly, but season to taste. And then I just get in with my fingers. And so I just meld all this together, as so. And this is looking and smelling amazing, you guys. This is going to be delicious. The aroma from the herbs, the rosemary, the garlic, all of that already is just making this smell amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little hole here in the center. I'm going to kind of brush out the potatoes just a little bit. And then I'm going to go grab my roast, and I'm going to put it here in the middle, and I'm going to pour my sauce over it. So I have the roast here in the center of my pan, and I just wanted to show you guys when you brown your meat first, what it should look like. So it should actually have a really nice, beautiful caramel color to it. And any juices that are left from your pot when you're browning your meat, you want to make sure that you pour that on top of your roast when you're done. So, and you want to add just enough oil to cover your pan so your meat doesn't stick. So a nice coating, actually, so it almost gives you the illusion that it's cooked, but of course it's not. And what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to add a little bit of hot pepper flakes, just a touch, and I'm just going to sprinkle that over the potatoes and the meat. Not a lot, just enough to kind of, as we like things a little on the spicy side. And then I'm gonna pour this mixture that I made over the roast. I'm just stirring it enough here to blend it evenly. And then I'm just gonna pour it over like this. And if you want to, which I think I'll do now, is just go ahead and jab some holes in your meat too. That kind of helps to get some of that juice and the herbs and stuff in there. So you can do this before if you want. You can do it afterwards. It's totally up to you. There is no right time or wrong time to do it. But it just kind of helps get that flavor in the meat. So when you're done with that, I have another lemon here. I'm just going to slice this in half and then in quarters. And again, I'm just going to put the lemon juice over the potatoes. And this kind of catches any seeds that might come from the lemon, but looks like we're not having that as an issue today. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to toss the lemon in there. This just adds a really good flavor. It also helps put the aroma into your food that you're cooking. So you really don't need to throw those away. And a cooked lemon rind, when you're done with it, actually is really flavorful. So looks like we're about done here. Squeezed enough of the lemon juice out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to tarp the meat with aluminum foil, and I'm going to stick it in the oven. I'm going to cook it for about 350 for about an hour and a half, and then I'm going to check it. It really does depend on how you like your lamb. Use a meat thermometer if you have any questions. Some people like their meat more pink. Some people really like the Greeks really prefer their lamb to be cooked all the way through. So cook it as long as you like. At the very end though, what we're going to do when the meat is done is we're going to pull the meat off, and then we're going to put our oven to broil, and we're going to roast these potatoes. So they're not only going to get the juices from the lamb and from all these wonderful flavorings that we've put on the dish here, but we're also then going to brown them and get them nice and crispy. Okay, so stay tuned and we'll see how all this turns out. Okay, so the alarm went off on the oven. It says that our leg of lamb and roast potatoes are done. We were just outside. My husband makes the most amazing homemade wines, so we were just outside enjoying that. It's absolutely delicious. So I'm going to show you what the lamb looks like. So this is what the end result isn't quite done yet. So what we're going to do now is it's at 170. I did put a meat thermometer in. Do know that when you do put your meat thermometer in, you don't want it to touch the bone. The bone actually helps cook the meat from the inside out. So since this is a bone-in leg of lamb, when you put your thermometer in, you want to make sure that you're not touching that. If you don't have a bone-in lamb, you have a boneless leg roast, that's fine. You don't need to worry about it. But obviously, if you do, you want to make sure that the end tip of your thermometer is only in with the meat, not on the bone. So I'm going to take the roast out. I'm going to take the thermometer out. I'm going to let the meat rest. It's really important to let the lamb rest. That way the juices actually remain in the meat. Otherwise, if you cut it when it's hot right away, all the juices actually spill out of your meat and it really can dry out your roast. So I'm going to do that now. And then I'm going to put the potatoes, I'm going to stir it up, put the potatoes back in the oven. I'm going to put the oven on broil. I'm going to raise my rack, and I'm going to put that back in the oven for another good 15-20 minutes. Make sure the potatoes get nice and crispy, and then we're going to slice our roast. anyway, so I roasted the potatoes in the oven for approximately 30-35 minutes on broil, but I checked them about every 10-15 minutes or so, and just checked them. So we like them pretty crispy, so this is perfect for us. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set this aside, and then I'm going to get the leg of lamb, and I'm going to thinly slice it, and we're going to put this in a separate bowl, and then the lamb separate as well. And then we're going to, you know, when we have our dinner, we're going to have them all combined with a beautiful green salad. So my husband here is going to slice the lamb, and we're going to show you a little bit here of what it looks like as a final product. Oh my gosh, look at the juices in that. Doesn't that just look amazing? And remember, you can cook this to any consistency that you like. We happen to like our lamb a little pink. Oh, that looks delicious. Oh, it looks perfect. Remember, this is a bone-in roast. If you were doing a boneless roast, you wouldn't have to worry about cutting around the bone, and leave the fat cap on. That's wonderful flavor. So honey, you're gonna have to take a taste. See what that lamb tastes like. See how it just cuts like butter.
Tender. Really a lot of flavor.
Good.
Rosemary comes out. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? It's delicious. Happy Easter, everybody.
Wonderful. Thank you guys for joining us on our videos.
Yeah, and you know, give us a thumbs up. Okay, happy Easter.
Happy Easter. And join our channel, and look forward to seeing you on more of our videos. Thank you. So today what I'm going to show you guys is, okay, can I start over?